Wales. When I was a kid, we used to go to Wales for our holidays, and I loved it. We went to a campsite in Pothmadog. My dad bought a caravan there, a 9-berth, which meant it could sleep 9 people. I don't know how they get away with advertising them like that. There were only 2 bedrooms, one with a double bed and one with 2 bunks. So to sleep the other 5 people meant pissing about with the transformer-like furniture. If you had family staying, they would have to start getting ready for bed about 8:30, due to all the messing about that was involved. The settee pulled out to sleep 2, a cupboard door with strong hinges folded down and held 1 person, and then the table we ate at dropped down to make a bed. It was stupid. I'm surprised they didn't sell it as a 10-berth and say you could use the oven as a cot for any kids or midgets in the family. We went to the campsite every year for about 10 years, and we spent a total of about 8 weeks there each year. I should be able to speak Welsh, the amount of time I spent there. I tried to get my teacher to teach me Welsh instead of French, because I had no plans to go to France. He said I'll realise French is more useful when I'm older. I'm now 34, and I still don't agree with him. I had loads of time off school to go to Wales for long weekends as well. My school had real problems with kids having too much time off, so the teachers started handing out certificates for good attendance. If you did a full month without missing a day, they would give you a long weekend off. They gave a gold award for people who were never off, silver for people who were only off twice, and a bronze certificate if you were off for 3 days. I got a bronze. Once. I had good times and bad times on the campsite. I was most happy in the arcade playing on the fruit machines. Me and a few mates used to go there every night about 6:30 with £1 and stay there till about 10:30. If I didn't win anything, I'd hang around near old women who looked like they didn't know what they were doing. And when they looked stuck, I'd help them win the jackpot on the off chance they'd give me some of their winnings. It worked out 2 out of 3 times. I had to go on a fruit machine in a service station recently, and I was well confused. They're so complicated these days. When I was a kid, it was melons, cherries, plums, pears and grapes, which were the most expensive fruit, and paid the jackpot. Now they've gone and added peaches, some brown thing with green pips, and other stuff that I reckon Jamie Oliver would have trouble recognising. I think there's less chance of winning on fruit machines now there's more fruit knocking about. I also noticed they've now added an automatic start, so you don't even have to hit the start button. They take the fun out of everything these days. If I wasn't in the arcade, I would be on the beach. The beach was so big it even had its own rough area, where Hell's Angels hung out on their motorbikes. My mum never wanted me to have a motorbike because a lot of people in our estate died on them. She tried putting me off by saying, to become a member of the Hell's Angels, you have to poo in your pants and wear them for a week. My dad said, your Auntie Nora could join them today then. The Hells Angels went up and down the beach at high speed, driving through jellyfish that had washed up on the sand. Did you know that jellyfish can still sting you? I don't know why some insects have odd powers like that. Why are they still protecting themselves when they've been squashed to bits? All insects with special powers amaze me. There's even a frog with a poisonous back that has to get its enemy to lick it. I'd like to witness how it is done. I never went into the sea much because there was too much seaweed. I didn't like the feel of it on my legs. Plus, seaweed is a good hiding place for crabs and other stuff. My dad used to chuck it at me when I wasn't looking and wrap it around my legs. I couldn't swim, and my dad would always say, when we get home, I'm getting you swimming lessons. By the time we got home, he'd forget about it, until they started showing adverts on the telly about learning to swim. Rolf Harris was on the adverts. I don't know why they picked him to do it. He's got nought to do with swimming. It took me ages to realise it was him because he didn't wear glasses in the water. I find it a bit odd when someone who wears glasses takes them off to clean them. They look naked. There was another advert telling you to call the Coast Guard if you saw someone drowning, which also reminded me Dad about swimming lessons. I don't know why this advert was on in Manchester. I used to try and turn the telly over before my dad realised what it was about, but that wasn't easy in those days before remote controls. Anyway, one day he saw it and decided to sort me my lessons out. I hated having swimming lessons. The main problem was that I was now 13 years old and all the other kids having lessons were about 8 or 9. I was at the age where hair started springing out of all sorts of places on the body. I had more hair under my arms than the instructor. Some of the other kids thought I was the instructor. I learned to swim in about 3 weeks. The pool was rank. One day, we watched another group of kids having advanced lessons while we were waiting. The instructor made them dive to the bottom, but rather picking up the usual rubber bricks, they had to collect old plasters and fag ends. I think it was a money-saving exercise as it saved having the pool cleaned professionally. My dad said, "Now you've learned, you'll be at the baths every week." Since then, I've been in a pool about 8 times in 20 years. People are always going on about global warming, saying how our summers are getting hotter, but I think they were hotter back then. I heard that. During one hot summer, some old woman on a campsite wrapped herself in cooking foil to get a quicker tan. Problem was, she nodded off and cooked herself dead. One year, I caught chickenpox. I don't think there was any part of my body that didn't have spots on it. My dad said I should go in the sea because the salt would be good for the spots. That reminded him that he had to book swimming lessons when we got home. My mum put some pink stuff on my face and I went to the arcade. The arcade was run by a big Welsh woman called Cynthia, who gave you change for the machines. It wasn't long before she saw I had chickenpox and told me to leave, because all of the other kids in there, I was well fed up. On the way home, I came up with a plan. I went straight to the wardrobe and got out my parka coat, which had a big hood with fur around it. I fastened it right to the top and went back to the arcade. Then I got another regular kid to get me some 10p pieces off Cynthia. I was just on to level 2 of Bubble Trouble when Cynthia tapped me on the shoulder and asked me to leave and not come back until my skin had cleared up. I suppose I stood out in the crowd. Everyone else had shorts and t-shirts, and there was me, looking like Kenny from South Park. It took a week for my chickenpox to clear. My mum was glad I was banned because it meant I was getting some fresh air instead. I had no one to play with because all my mates were in the arcade. So I ended up going to the beach with my mum. She loved it there. She used to collect loads of stuff like shells, dried seaweed and bits of washed up rope. And then she would put them in the caravan to make it feel more holiday-ish. This did my dad's head in. When she wasn't looking, he would chuck stuff out. So she started gluing it to the mirrors and doors. She wanted a metal detector to use on the beach, but my dad said, bollocks to that. I don't want bits of metal shit stuck to the mirrors as well. My mum had always been into collecting stuff. When I was about 6, she'd take me and my brother to the local woods to dig up old bottles. We'd take them home and clean them and put them on the wicker bar that we had in the lounge. My dad is used to it now. She can't go out without buying something useless to clog up the house with. Last time I went to see them, she'd bought a yellow plastic banana holder. The idea being that you unpeel a banana, bin the skin, and put the naked banana in the holder. Thing is, she doesn't even eat bananas due to her having high potassium levels. She said she'll put it to the grapes if she's going out, but I've never seen her use it. I nearly died in Wales once. I was helping my dad and one of his mates collect slate from a big hill. My dad wanted to stick it in front of the caravan. He was getting as bad as my mum sticking stuff to the mirrors and doors, which he thought it would protect the caravan from bad weather in the winter months. We got to the top of this massive hill and found some decent-sized pieces. I was carrying one of them back downhill when the weight of it made me start to run. I couldn't stop. My dad shouted out that I should throw myself on the floor, but I was travelling that fast. When I chucked myself on my arse, I just bounced up and carried on running. I was hurtling towards a big slate wall at the bottom. If I ran into it, I'd be dead. Luckily, my dad's mate was in front of me and had one opportunity to try and stop me. He dived and did a rugby tackle, grabbing me around the legs. I landed on my face and cut my head and scratched my cheeks. My dad gave me a bollocking for not being able to stop running. He does that when he's panicking. I was once choking to death on a Mr. Freeze ice pop. My face was red, my lips were purple, my eyes were rolling back into my head. And all I could hear was my dad shouting, "That's what you get for being greedy." My mum, however, opted to try and save me. She gave me one of them fireman squeezes, and I got my breath back. Anyway, we got back to the caravan and unloaded the slate, and then my mum went mad when she saw the state of me. There I was looking like Freddy Krueger, because I'd been lifting the slate out of the car. My heart was pumping and blood was oozing out of the cuts. It looked a lot worse than it was, but I didn't mind, because she gave me £1 to cheer me up, and off I went to the arcade. Cynthia couldn't chuck me out. I looked a mess, but no one could catch anything off me. My mum and dad have now retired and moved from Manchester to Wales, so I still go there quite a lot. Last summer, me and Suzanne went to see them, and my mum wanted to show us some local woods, where she said there were 6-foot witches and weird monsters hanging from the trees. Now, you're meant to pay to get in, but my dad reckoned that if you walk through 3 fields and climb over a couple of fences, you could get in the back way for free. He parked in the middle of nowhere, and we started our walk. The first field was full of mud. We got stung by nettles in the second field, and the third one didn't seem too bad, until we got halfway across and Suzanne noticed a load of cows running towards us. She was terrified. She said she'd heard about people being killed by charging cows, and we all started to run. The cows were catching up with us. I didn't realise how quick a cow could run, but then again, why would I? Suzanne was at the front, then me and me mum, but my dad had stopped and picked up a big log. He was standing with it, yelling, as about 30 cows charged toward him. They got about 5 feet away and came to a halt. My dad then walked calmly to the fence and threw the log aside, like Russell Crowe in Gladiator after he killed that tiger. There we were, out of breath, covered in mud, and with our nettle stings even more irritated by the sweat from running. 20 minutes later, we were walking around the woods looking at the witches and monsters. We were the only people there. We sat on a few tree trunks and ate some cheese butties my mum had packed. She didn't bring the grape holder. And drank a 6-pack of orange juice cartons my dad got from Farm Foods. They only cost £1 for 6. He likes to tell everyone what he's paid for stuff when he thinks he's got a bargain. We didn't hang around for long. My dad wanted to go back the way we came, but Suzanne was having none of it, so we ended up going out the proper front entrance. There was no one on the gate, so we probably wouldn't have to pay anyway. It was then we went through the entrance that I noticed the prices. It would have only cost £1 each to get in. I asked my dad why we didn't just pay the entrance fee. You could get 24 cartons of orange juice at Farm Foods for that, he said. When I got home, Suzanne showed me loads of stories on the internet about people being killed by cows.